Very good evening to all participants today. So, today being World Creativity and Innovation Day, 2025, we have Arshia today. She's a budding psychologist and a motivational speaker who's made a lot of presentations. We are like obliged to have her today to enlighten and share her knowledge with us. Um, and Yeah, Shreya, I give the floor to you. You can self introduce yourself and you can begin.
Thank you, ma'am. So, good evening, all. Thank you for joining us today. Like ma'am said, a psychology student, and I'm doing double majors in psychology and fine arts. So, art therapy and art and innovation is something that I've been very interested in. So, I've taken this opportunity today to present on this topic. But before we start, since it's only a few of us, maybe we can start off by like maybe you can all tell me in the chat how you're feeling today. So maybe one for feeling very tired and five for being very energetic. Like I'm feeling a four. So what about you guys? You can just drop it on the chat. Two. Yeah. I take it that everyone is pretty tired. Okay, let's move on to the next slide then.
You can put a thumbs up. I'll help you.
Yeah, you were not able to see. Okay, so like today is World Creativity and Innovation Day. Uh, so we are focusing on something which is relevant to all of us, especially in the field of psychology and mental health. So how creativity and innovation are connected to mental well-being is not just a motivational talk. So there are real life examples, psychological connections, professional and academic uh, proofs to this matter, and that it's not just a simple thing anymore, that it's something, especially after corona, many people have started to employ this. So it is very important that we understand its importance. So moving on to the next slide, we'll understand why it matters. Before I start, does anyone want to share why you think it's important to get creativity into psychology or any other field as such? You can just say it in the chat box or you can mute yourself as well.
You can very well interact.
Yeah, actually, I'm
Mhm.
Vidya.
Okay.
I feel
Fine.
this. I mean, including this for our mental health, it really helps us to express in a way than through other forms of communication because it really helps us reveal the unknown things, which we are completely
Definitely.
not aware of.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that is true because innovation does not happen in a vacuum, right? It comes from human beings. And us human beings, we are complex. We're emotional, and our the center core being of us is just layered into mental health, and just how we operate is completely emotional, and we are often anxious, burnt out, emotional. It's not only that, anxiousness is not only that that we have a disorder or anything as such. Sometimes we just feel completely tired, and creativity really helps us get out of it, right? Same time, creativity as an expression is through art, writing, music, problem solving, as you all know, right? So it like studies have shown for creativity to show high cortisol levels. It reduces symptoms of anxiety, depression. It fosters a lot of connection, like Vidya ma'am just said now. It helps you bring out unconscious motives, right? So that is exactly why it is really essential, especially in theory. Creativity under constraint can lead to innovation, right? So sometimes, when faced with constraints, individuals, we are pushed to think and create our own ideas, right? And often those are unconventional solutions. So these necessities of make do can lead to innovative ideas, which is creativity in itself. And it can lead to innovative ideas that have emerged in unconstrained environments, right? So, for example, I think you all might be knowing that during the COVID pandemic, therapists had to shift to online sessions overnight, right? And there was high amount of, like, there was a sudden requirement of a lot of therapists, and there was this high surge of people, needing therapy, needing a space where they can talk, etc. This had led to digital therapy and creative outreach methods. So there was a website called journal.com where people could journal their thoughts and ideas, and they would have therapists review it, and they could, like, assess people on the basis of it. They could talk on the basis of it, etc. And it's just a cathartic practice that was introduced. So, it's just amazing how creativity can help us get out of things that you never know. It's a neuroscience of creativity, if you think about it. Because in terms of creativity, the brain doesn't really have a creative center, as you know. It's actually a network of different systems working together. So there is the default mode system, and then there is the executive control network, and both of these work together. And finally, the salience network. So this is the one that switches between the both, deciding what is important at any moment. And these three networks are constantly talking to each other during creative tasks. So this is why sometimes the best ideas come up when you are the most relaxed, and or you are in an extremely difficult situation. They're the two extremes, you know. Like, again, an example is Steve Jobs. So he once said that creativity is just connecting things, and it's not just a philosophy or a neuroscience. And studies that even showed that creative people tend to have stronger connections between distant parts of the brain, etc. Right? So, it's like, it's very common. Sometimes we are just the best ideas drop at the most random moments. And next is creativity as a tool for mental well-being, which is very important, since I am assuming that most of you are from the field of psychology. Do you have any say in how, like, you would have used creativity to overcome any sort of frustration or any negative feeling?
Anyone can share.
Like, I personally do a lot of writing, so that helps me. You could share what helps you out.
Yeah, anyone?
Yeah, I listen to music. I also do this journaling part.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, I just write it and I just stare it off sometimes. So that really
That is
helps me
great.
just ward away
That is
from the
great.
problem.
That
So
is great.
that's one.
A lot of therapists actually recommend that to their patients as well, to write down what comes to their mind and then just throw it away or tear it off, so that they don't look at it and overthink again. But it really helps them get over that feeling at that particular point. That is how important having creative ideas and methods in a therapeutic setting is. And also, like, putting it into our clients' mind that like, you should also have this sort of mindset, because if they also try to build such a mindset, then it will help them later on as well, when they're not on a regular therapeutic session with us. So the next slide
So there are other
is up.
participants who also shared that they use reading and
Mhm.
painting, journaling and reading. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we have 2 points here, that is creativity as a tool and what kills creativity, right? So, creativity as a tool, it's all that we talked about. It can be engaging activities that reframe negative thought patterns. It focuses on making something from nothing, right? And it's a piece of art, music, writing, whatever it is that you're shifting your focus from destructive thoughts. It's just a safe space for you, right? So, for example, nowadays there's this trend of people using vision boards, to create their perfect year, etc. Okay, that's all right. So, that really helps them kind of motivate themselves and, have particular goals. Now, what kills creativity is a bit sketchy because
You there, Vidya?
Askia was talking.
Yeah, sorry, Ashriya. She will log in now. Kindly wait.
am I audible to you guys?
Yes, Ashriya, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So, basically, what kills creativity is that we are hypercritical about it. We often think that we don't need creativity when we do, right? And we also think that we need to perfect it. Like, for example, someone who wants to do art therapy thinks that they need to be amazing, they need to be perfect in art, but that is not true, right? It is completely a method of pure catharsis, and you don't have to be perfect in it. You don't have to think about the risks in it. It is complete autonomy and novelty of exposure, right? So that would be the risks that are associated with um it not being able to properly initiate creativity in oneself.
Ashriya, is it possible to on your video?
It is switched on. I think 1 second. I have a little bit of internet. Is it visible
Yeah,
now?
it's visible now. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So next we'll talk about the barriers to innovation in psychology as a field. So we'll go to the next slide now. Right. So as you can see, there are a number of um, barriers such as resistance to change, limited resources, ethical concerns, and lack of collaboration, especially in India. Resistance to change is one of the main examples. In fact, the way that often schools stop promoting art as a subject could be taken as an example how resisting we are, because we think that this is something that is used for leisure when it can be actually when it's actually proven to work, right? And there are limited resources in many areas. There is no funding, there is no time, there is not enough research backed up for this method, and there are limitations which prevent exploration of methods and technology. Of course, there are ethical concerns in psychology. So there are techniques or technologies that need to pass these processes, which completely slow down the innovation. Moreover, there are lack of innovations with professionals or a lack of cross-disciplinary collaboration, etc. So all these issues can cause us to not be able uh, to incorporate this properly in a therapeutic setting. Right. For example, there is this therapy using virtual realities for treating PTSD. So while virtual reality can be used for doing so, it does come with its own side effects and its own disadvantages, which is what makes this method a questionable method of therapy. So next we have innovation and training in psychology. So we can promote hands-on learning, as said, and interdisciplinary learning, flexible models, adoption of technology, right? So there are AI-driven tools. Everything has its own negative areas, but however, like if we know how to use it properly, then the education of future psychologists is critical for this field's growth and advancement and innovation, because this area is just as important in practice. And the introduction of hybrid learning models that can combine in person and online formats is another innovative step. So it provides flexibility for students, it allows access to wider variety of teaching resources, etc. Lastly, as I come to my part of this session, to end, I would take a moment to reflect on the key takeaways that we have spoken on. So, creativity and innovations are not just words, but they're essential for the future of psychology, like we have spoken, you know, and it drives innovation. It comes up with new ideas which are effective in approaches to mental health treatment interventions. It addresses challenges which come through collaboration, embracing new technologies, and fostering environment to open changes. And finally, it continues to evolve. So, our methods of teaching and training and adopting innovative teaching methods should also ensure that there is a next generation of psychologists who are well equipped to take mental health challenges, right? Because creativity is something that can bridge both the older generation and the younger generation, and it is still understandable and simple. So thank you all. I will now let ma'am do her part of the presentation, and then we'll do questions.
Okay, so let me share a little bit of my inputs before we go to the questions.
Uh, if you don't mind, Ashia, can we do some creative work before going to questions and other points?
We are going to do, ma'am. I will conduct it for you.
Okay, thank you.
I will do it. So before we just close with what Ashreya has shared with us, I just want to touch upon few things. As I told you, we are talking about this today because today is is World Creativity and Innovation Day. So, because most of you are expressive arts learners, beginners, practitioners, budding psychologists who are like in the session today, so I would like to tell you that um, like we've also worked and we've done a lot of creative arts. We've used methods with colors, we've used stories, we've used a little bit of music until now. What I'm talking about my intern students, like whatever we've explored until now. I think the other name for expressive arts therapy is creative arts therapy. So, using creativity when we are able to explore our own selves and express it, like how each of you said, everybody has their own methodology in which they indulge in creativity through writing or journaling. Some of you said music, your inclination towards reading. So somewhere you listen, maybe you narrate it. So there are different ways of expressions. So if we are expressing things outside, we get some freeness of mind. We're not carrying forward everything inside. We keep pushing emotions inside. It's all stagnated, and that stops creativity. And if we are not able to think in a creative way, then there is a full stop to innovation. Where does innovation come from? Creativity is the path which leads us to innovation in whichever field we are in, not only restricted to psychology, but in any field. So I think it's very important for us to be creative. And like I think most of the successful people around us are the out of the box thinkers who did not restrict themselves to mind blocks. So there's always a need to like think whether when we have a thought, it can be we could have got that thought from what somebody else told us a generation back, how we were groomed, or the environment around us, what thoughts they put into us, the exposure we have in through media and other, no, especially children, young adults, more influence through media still is there. So we are tuned into a certain way of thinking. But I think to break that is sometimes a barrier to people, and that can be one of the reason why some of them are restricted from being creative. From my own personal experience, I would say that there are certain institutions and organizations when we study or when we are working in, which help us to, or they provide us that space for creativity. They give you a concept and want you to present in a very creative way. You have your own ideas, you do brainstorming. I can get many ideas at a time, but what I can implement is my own space to plan and execute it. So, but there are some institutions that are like more kind of formal. And this is the methodology that we used 10 years back, and still they follow the same methodology. I've studied in 4 to 5 colleges. So, my experience at every college is quite different. Some people who are heads of institutions, if they're updated and if they're able to like see what it is and encourage creativity of students, participation, which leads to innovation, is something which I've seen in few organizations. And I think it's good for us to always connect with similar minded people who will not restrict your thoughts. So, for you to enjoy your own authentic feelings, to be in touch with your own authentic self, it's very important for us to think from the creative aspect of us. And creative expressions are very important. And as Asha rightly explained to us, there are times where sometimes some of us limit our expressions. We're not like, maybe because we are doing art therapy and other things, maybe we are being more open to expressions now. But there are people whom I have worked with in, whether it is schools, many children indulge in these. Maybe as people age, I have sensed a kind of rigidity in certain people when it is in the outside world, whether it's an office where I'm going and doing this. When we are doing it, it is easier to conduct for students rather than the professors. From my own personal experience, I'm saying. Why? Because it is very difficult for certain people to indulge in creative expressions and these kind of activities. One thing is because we are not used to it. We're used to a kind of formal methods, and we think that it's beyond our what our something, no, that kind of um, for example, I conduct the music and dance movement therapy for staff because the title was chosen by the college, and they wanted us to indulge in it. I mean, they wanted us to conduct it, and I wanted my participants to slowly taking my participants in, and slowly one by one we're drawing for the dance moments. And I don't restrict myself also. I participate along with them to give them that comfort that I am also like one among them. They can feel free to shed that shyness, and of course, I understand it takes time. So there were many female faculty who came forward to dance. They enjoyed, and towards the end, we had something to do with expressive arts. So that was the way we took it. And why I'm speaking about this aspect is there were a few people when I just introduced that concept. It was conducted in a seminar hall. When they received that instructions that they're going to involve in certain body movements. Dance movement therapy was the title given to them, and because of that they had some hesitation to come. I heard from the assistant professor who had sent me that invite. But I think maybe people think that I'm aged and I should not do such things. It's silly or something like that. No, the block is there in the mind is what I also told them. It's okay to not participate. There is some slowly who are starting to. I said those who are sitting also it's okay. We cannot force people. So I said those who are sitting, there were very few women who were sitting. They could have their own reasons why they are not like maybe due to whatever. Slowly they also started moving separately and they did some mild movements, whatever they could do. Okay, so but I saw that rigidity in the other side. I'm not generalizing, but from that particular experience alone, I felt that men were very rigid. And when I just announced that this is what we're going to do, four men as a group just walked out of the seminar hall. The professors or assistant professors, I don't know, they walked out of the seminar hall. I think I'm not blaming them, I'm just saying that it has happened because of their own mind block. Either they think that is a silly thing, or they say that it's beyond my whatever my experience or my field of work, and to do indulge in this. And I think that comes from our own mind block. So somebody is being hired to give you some relaxation. If you participate in that, you can at least try and see what it was. And I was so glad that there was one male who did not dance. But then I did not have any of the male participants dancing. They were just sitting in their place. Dancing is nothing but body movements. We are not expecting anyone to do classical dance or western dance in that particular program. So just sitting down towards the end, he told me that I was feeling shy. Ma'am, I was listening to all your instructions. Every time when I saw other people, I wanted to enjoy that, I wanted to explore that, but something was stopping me from getting into it. And when after the dance moment, they were engaged in that visual arts activity. So he brought me a paper in which he had done that work with a lot of emotions. He told me that though I did not dance, I was fully participating in it. The songs which I heard, the kind of music rhythm which I heard, and when I was just thinking about myself and putting it down, this is what came up. Is he showed me different a mixture of emotions which he was going through, and he very openly spoke about it in the forum. And I was so glad that that is a small change in a person is making in terms of expressions. So where once a few people started doing that, there were other men also who started. So that is that who rings the bell is something I think which is a question here. Who begins? So maybe a few, if they had come forward to do the movements, maybe the others also would have joined. I think we people have this kind of constraints. You know, we always want to be in groups, stick to the group, always travel. My friends are others are going for engineering, so I should also go towards that. Either medicine or either engineering. That is where the larger crowd, wherever the larger crowd is going, I too want to go. Is a general uh, mindset that majority of the people in our society have. But I still keep telling you that each of us have unique skill set. By birth we are very different people. Our genetic constitution is very different. Our innate artistic skills are very different. In creative arts, creative expressions, each of us are choosing different modalities. Why? Because of our skill. I might be someone who's very interested in arts, but somebody else might be very interested in writing. Somebody might be very interested in dance. So some were also talking about in the same session the memories which they were taken back to after they did that work, childhood memories. Some of them will burst out when they talk about the certain things they never addressed. They pushed it, they repressed it. It was all there inside. But at a point when they're exposed to this kind of a platform along with their comfort zone where their colleagues are, when they're closely knit with their that particular group, they're not shy to talk about it. So again, verbally you're expressing it, and when you're telling that in a forum, people are witnessing it, which is giving you a sense of satisfaction that you're validated. So that is also there. So I think that the what I'm trying to tell you for today as a takeaway is a healthy mind. A healthy mind is very, very important for us to have a healthy body, for us to have success in profession, for us to be successful in our personal life, both, to strike a balance between both and be creative and innovative thinkers. Expression is something which is very, very important, and we should never let our creativity inactive. Never leave your creative side of you, which is already existing within you, to not put a halt to it, but to use the creative side of you as well. So, in terms of whatever we discussed, whatever Arshia spoke, whatever I spoke, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Feel free to ask, or you can give us a feedback of what your takeaway is. So, once Ashria is done, then we will be having our class. Any questions to Ashria, or any inputs you want to give, your feedback, please go ahead. Or you can speak about your takeaway. Yes, please. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Uh, yes, ma'am. No questions as of now. But the thing is, like as you both had mentioned, like this is a very new path to walk, especially in our area of the place that we are living in, our in Coimbatore or India, especially in our country. It is taking time to for people to really embrace the change, the innovations, especially when it comes to, in general it takes time, especially when it comes to mental health. They really take a step back to find out whether it's, why is it like really necessary, what is art doing in a mental health, like why are they asking us to draw, why are they asking us to do this moment or that moment. And in one session that you had mentioned, like even to using a couch on the in the counselor's room to give a comfort to the client, making them feel comfortable in their, so that they feel better in talk, even in any kind of expression for that matter. So that itself is, I don't see it in many places, is in general settings especially. So that really helps, when people really start embracing all that, right from the government side, from the support that we get from the government, the initiatives that taken by the senior professionals, through their experience. They definitely should be knowing by now, like what's really needed to accelerate the uh, mental health area. So it would be really great if they really come across do more innovations and accept the changes and embrace it for the better.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, Janani ma'am says to be yourself will enable the mind to be creative, is an understanding for her. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? All right. So, thank you, Arshia, for this wonderful presentation today. And it's special to have very special to have you today, especially on this particular day where I think we're carrying forward an awareness about creativity and innovation as an initiative, and I'm thankful to you for being part of it. A few words from you about how was your experience, Ashriya?
So, like I said, as a psychology and fine art students, and like Vidya ma'am said, it is true that it is a very new concept, especially in India. People are very skeptical about it. Like, people are skeptical about therapy itself, but art therapy is something that is very new to them. But I truly do believe that it is very essential, especially for children. I don't believe that children should be, made to sit in this controlled settings where they have to undergo into things that they don't understand. Instead, this is something that is fun, and this is something that won't, make them feel that they are different and make them feel that, something is wrong with them. So I really think that we should start to educate even parents on this and remove the stigma as much as possible. And yeah, like, I'm a student, so I am doing as much as I can from my perspective. As you guys are practitioners, and hearing from you that you do use it and everything, it is really amazing. So it was a great opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. And of course, I hope to see you all again. Hope to connect with you all soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Ashya, for the participation. Yeah. So, I request the other participants of Expressive Arts Therapy program to stay the evening batch. We'll continue our work. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ashya.
Thank you.